Jennifer Lopez has found herself caught up in the latest accusations against Jay-Z after a leaked photo of her and P. Diddy fighting at one of his infamous parties went viral. Jennifer Lopez has been linked to Jay-Z's essay allegations after photos surfaced of her arguing with Diddy on the night of the alleged incident. These old after-party photos of Jay-Z and Diddy have appeared on social media amid horrific allegations. The lady claimed that she was essayed when she was a young woman by Jay-Z and Diddy. In the newly surfaced photo, Jennifer Lopez can also be seen now, and Lopez, who dated Combs from 1999-2001 and were considered to actually be one of the most famous high-profile couples of the Hollywood entertainment industry, hogging the limelight and capturing media attention of the late 90s, is seen in photos arguing with Combs at the after-party. Now, to give a brief backstory, J-Lo and Diddy dated from 1999-2001, and their relationship witnessed everything from glamorous appearances, emotional turbulence, and eventually even legal troubles. And when Diddy was in a relationship with Jennifer, he had an infatuation with Kim Porter, who would go on to be the mother of his 3 children, Christian, and twin daughters, Jessie and Delilah. She sadly passed away in 2018, and that's a whole different can of worms to open, so we won't even get into that right now. So going back to this lawsuit, there was a third female celebrity listed in it, and while there was no suggestion that Lopez is the unnamed third celebrity in the lawsuit, the resurfacing of these photos has drawn renewed attention to her past relationship with Combs. Now, after the case was filed, Jay-Z called the allegations idiotic and heinous in nature in a statement released by one of his companies. He also revealed that he had anonymously sued the woman's lawyer, Tony Busby, in California, alleging Busby was trying to blackmail him by threatening to make the allegation public if he didn't agree to a legal settlement. Jay-Z said a letter his lawyer received from Busby appeared to seek a settlement but had the opposite effect. He said, "It made me want to expose you for the fraud you are in a very public fashion, so no, I will not give you one red penny." The lawsuit, originally filed in October, claims that the victim, who identified only as Jane Doe, was unknowingly put under the influence by an illegal substance, she said, after consuming like a reddish yellow drink. She then began feeling woozy and lightheaded and was allegedly essayed by both Combs and Jay-Z. It also claims the third celebrity stood by and watched the events unfold. Lopez has yet to publicly comment on the lawsuit or the resurfaced images. The litigation is part of a wave of essay lawsuits against Combs as this hip-hop mogul remains in custody in New York awaiting trial on federal charges. An updated complaint in a civil case against Combs alleges that Jay-Z and Combs essayed the girl at an after-party following the MTV Video Music Awards in September of 2000. Now, according to the allegations, Combs aggressively approached the victim with a crazed look in his eyes, grabbed her, and said, "You ready to party?" Incidentally, in the complaint, the woman alleged that Combs and Carter took turns with her. Many others were present at the after-party but did nothing to stop it. Colin Rugg, who shared the photos on X, formerly known as Twitter, said, "Here are photos of the party. Jay-Z is in the red shirt. I had previously shared this lawsuit on X, but Jay-Z was not named. He was referred to as Celebrity A. Here are some celebrities who were in attendance at the party: Jay-Z, J-Lo, Ben Stiller." The lawsuit was originally filed in October in the Southern District of New York, and at the time did not actually name Jay-Z as a defendant, though the amended lawsuit says that Jay-Z was identified as Celebrity A on the original complaint. Tony Busby, the Texas lawyer representing the girl who filed Sunday's lawsuit, has filed at least 20 civil lawsuits against Combs, accusing him of misconduct. Busby, in his amended lawsuit, says his legal firm had previously sent Jay-Z a letter seeking to mediate a settlement. The lawsuit says he responded to that letter by filing a lawsuit against Busby and by orchestrating a conspiracy of harassment against Busby and other lawyers in his firm, which the lawyer said was an intimidation tactic meant to silence his client. In a post on social media, Busby said the alleged victim he is representing never demanded a penny from Jay-Z, writing that she only sought a confidential mediation. In the recent days, though, the woman who has accused Jay-Z and Sean Combs of essaying her when she was a young woman shared new details about her recollection of the night of the alleged incident. Now, in an interview with NBC News, the woman, now a 38-year-old mother of two who lives in Alabama, said she stayed quiet for over 24 years because she felt no one would have believed her. She said, even if somebody found out, who was gonna believe me? I mean, it was the words of two celebrities against mine. Among the new details, the Alabama woman claimed that during the alleged incident, Jay-Z placed his hand over her mouth and told her to stop when she resisted. In a statement, Jay-Z denied the new and old allegations, continuing to say that the complaint was filed in pursuit of money and fame. He added, this incident didn't happen, and yet he filed it in court and doubled down in the press. True justice is coming. We fight from victory, not for victory. This was over before it began. This 1-800 lawyer doesn't realize it yet, but soon. Combs has denied all allegations against him. His legal team said that now a plaintiff of Busby's has been exposed for falsely claiming to be a victim. This is the beginning of the end of the shameful money grab. Combs' attorney said that in a shared statement. And the alleged victim's decision to refile her lawsuit to include Jay-Z was a major development, as he is the only other high-profile defendant named in the case alongside Combs. It's hard to say whether or not Jennifer Lopez, now being dragged into all of this, will or will not talk about it privately or publicly. Many believe she should provide some sort of explanation or clarity around what exactly went on in the photos. Was she arguing, or was it a moment captured by a bad angle that made it look more sinister than not?
In the shadow of the increasingly horrifying Diddy controversy, a barely known celebrity power couple was broken apart. Jennifer Lopez, henceforth J-Lo, filed for divorce from her husband Ben Affleck in August of this year, something which many had seen coming as they hadn't been seen together for months, and it seemed that they were slowly drifting apart. But it does seem that a simple falling out of love may not be the full story. It's no secret J-Lo dated Diddy decades ago and was likely therefore at least familiar with his freak-offs and other crimes. She was present when, in 1999, allegedly Diddy propelled lead from his hand device into 3 people at a nightclub, which was then allegedly pinned on young rapper Shine, getting him put in prison for 8 years. So suffice to say, J-Lo was pretty close with Diddy and was possibly even part of protecting him from legal consequence by denying the gat was his. When Diddy's mansion was raided, all sorts of things were recovered, from dangerous tools and illicit substances to the famed 1,000 bottles of baby oil, several toys, and even recorded tapes of his illicit and immoral activities. I could go on about how idiotic it is to both record and then store your crimes, but no one's defending Diddy, and this story is about the power couple themselves. Well, according to Suge Knight, not exactly the most innocent person either, amongst Diddy's many freak-off tapes were several tapes of J-Lo. Now, the details on what was in this footage is pretty hazy. Suge himself said they showed J-Lo doing this and J-Lo doing that, but what this and that are is unknown. That makes it pretty concerning given just what we know happened at these parties. This and that could mean anything from recreational illicit use to harder, not so recreational use, to the conducting of several illicit adult actions, potentially with multiple participants, and in possibly the worst case could show J-Lo forcibly interacting with people at these parties, which would be pretty disturbing. Well, when Diddy's mansion was raided in March, it seems that several of these tapes were recovered. By complete coincidence, this is the last time Ben and Jennifer were thought of as a happy couple, with a distinct lack of affection being noticed by reporters from May to August when the divorce was finalized. According to Suge Knight, this is no coincidence whatsoever. He believes that Ben Affleck, a powerful and famous man, was likely given or shown a copy of the tapes of J-Lo by some concerned party. Suge seems quite positive that Affleck did in fact see the videos and was troubled by them, but the details are not known. Given that the FBI is involved and is holding the evidence, it likely wasn't strictly legal for Affleck to be able to view this footage in the first place, so it leaves a big question as to how he may have received it. Diddy was a prolific recorder and allegedly recorded most of the depraved things that he coerced, manipulated, and forced other people to do. Much of this was, it's believed, intended as leverage against those people to keep them quiet and compliant. It's very possible that these videos are such leverage, possibly recorded intentionally and orchestrated to be as vile and embarrassing as possible. If so, then in a way these videos may have had their intended effect, to harm J-Lo and destabilize her life once uncovered. However, it's just as likely that these videos show J-Lo doing some pretty reprehensible things of her own will. Things Affleck may not want to be anywhere near or associated with someone who did. It does seem strange that the power couple united after decades of controversy, and right after P. Diddy's home is raided, they end up going through some marital troubles. Now, it was J-Lo who filed for divorce, as far as we can tell, but they were both clearly losing interest, judging by Affleck skipping her birthday and several other incidents. However, we do not know the circumstances the couple was under. It may be that J-Lo herself is going to end up facing criminal charges, and it's better for Ben and their kids for them to be separate. Or maybe Affleck saw something that changed how he viewed her, and she eventually couldn't stand the alienation and filed for divorce. The reporting around this subject has been really strange, with People magazine saying that she was done waiting for Affleck and that he wasn't giving her any signs that he wanted to continue the marriage. Allegedly, they'd been separated since late April. Now, that would seem to put the brakes on the idea that it was the footage that broke them up, but it may still be the case that they separated for one reason and stayed separate for another. The latest drama really starts here, though. Ever since people found out about potential illicit video of J-Lo at the peak of her fame and popularity, there's been a clamoring to see it. Of course, with the evidence being held by the FBI, it seems impossible for there to be a leak, as this evidence is likely critical for the full scope of the trial. And yet, there has allegedly been a leak of some truly foul footage involving J-Lo and highly illegal CSA behavior. It's also been alleged that Ben Affleck was well aware of what was going on at the freak-offs and of J-Lo's involvement, which could put a whole new spin on things. So why are some sources stating that Ben Affleck is the source of the leak? It does fit nicely. Innocent husband finds out something horrible about his wife, divorces her, and then in revenge leaks the footage of this horrible thing. Except he didn't divorce her, she divorced him, and there's no reason to believe Affleck was the one behind the leak. If it's true that he knows more than he's let on, it's likely that both Ben and Jen are scrabbling to protect their reputations right now, and that an unrelated marriage dispute could be a good way for at least Affleck to stay out of the situation. But where did the leak come from? Well, several sources are claiming the leak was actually from rapper 50 Cent. It's no secret that 50 hates Diddy with a passion and has even been compiling a catalog of footage and recordings of the worst things Diddy has done, all with the plans of releasing a feature-length documentary sometime in the future. Allegedly, 50 leaked several videos of J-Lo doing some pretty disgusting things well after she and Diddy were apparently broken up. Now, we all know the sort of evil Diddy is, manipulative and coercive, and J-Lo herself has said several times that she was obsessed with him and very unstable at the time. Well, 50 takes this a step farther, alleging that even after their breakup, J-Lo was still obsessed and more than willing to do whatever Diddy wanted. Hence, these horrifying tapes. Some are still questioning whether J-Lo was a willing or coerced participant, and that's a valuable conversation to have, but just because one person is misused doesn't give them the right to misuse others without consequence. Most of this is speculation, as very few details have come to light. We do not have the benefit of hindsight, and we have no idea where the next twist in this story will come from. We have to slowly live through it until the trial is done and details are made public. The questions abound, however. Did the raid on Diddy's mansion lead to illicit footage of J-Lo doing incriminating acts? Well, almost certainly, but was Ben Affleck then shown those tapes? And did that then lead to a souring of their marriage? Or was Ben well aware of the depravity and it was a mutual decision to keep his name out of the limelight? Did Ben Affleck, in a vengeful rage, release the footage to the public, or was it someone else, like 50 Cent or any other number of Diddy haters? We will be following this story very closely as it continues continues to evolve and develop, and I have to say, I'm just dying to know the truth. I just need to know if I can listen to On the Floor guilt-free or if it has to go in the Michael Jackson, Elvis Presley, R. Kelly pile of songs.
One of J-Lo's past assistants has come forward and addressed J-Lo's involvement in Diddy's crime ring. And let me tell you, it's not what you think at all. Thea D'Souza, who worked with J-Lo on the 2002 film Made in Manhattan, posted a statement on Threads recently that said, "If you knew Jennifer Lopez, if you ever worked with her like I did, or if you were close with people who are like family to her like I am, you would know she did not have any idea about Diddy. She barely drinks, she's not a partier, she isn't a good time girl, she's a workaholic who uplifts women and who was charmed by him for a brief time in her life." Now, she emphasized that J-Lo does not deserve to be conflated with Diddy's shocking and criminal misdeeds. So, Thea claims that J-Lo is innocent in all of this, which is a great thing, and it's honestly good to see someone having J-Lo's back at a time like this. They've been digging up photos of J-Lo at parties and have been speculating a lot. Now, besides proof that J-Lo had been to some of his white parties, as she was his girlfriend, there's been zero proof that she had anything to do with the crimes Diddy committed, nor that she even knew about them. While her ex-assistant has stood up for her, J-Lo, for her part though, has stayed silent. And she probably will be for the time being, as she doesn't really address rumors or drama. It's obviously a sensitive subject and is something that the star doesn't want to discuss. So if you meet J-Lo, I'd suggest not asking her about Diddy. Besides, if she has something to say, she will say it eventually. It's a very sticky situation that she's in, and nobody is entitled to her opinion on the whole situation. Now, since breaking up with Diddy, J-Lo has claimed that he was unfaithful during their relationship. Now, maybe this is why she won't talk about him. She could still be hurt by all of this. Now, throughout their relationship and after their breakup, J-Lo was aware of rumors that Diddy was cheating on her. When the pair first met, Diddy essentially love-bombed her. He gave her a ton of attention and told her that he loved her almost immediately. J-Lo said this made her uncomfortable at first, but then she fell for him. As their relationship wore on though, the feelings of doubt crept back in. "It was the first time I was with someone who wasn't faithful," she told Vibe magazine after the breakup. "I was in this relationship with Puff where I was totally crying, crazy, and going nuts. It really took my whole life in a tailspin." Now, she grew increasingly concerned about his fidelity, saying, "I never caught him, but I just knew," she said of his cheating. He said he was going to the club for a couple of hours and then he'd never come back that night. Now, Diddy himself has admitted that he was often unfaithful in relationships. In a 2015 appearance on The Breakfast Club, he said his partners would often be frustrated with his behavior. Now, J-Lo later admitted they broke up and got back together far more than the public knew, which honestly isn't healthy at all. But in 2001, the couple ended things for good. It was scary, and we broke up many times before that and got back together and broke up again, and nobody knew about it. Now, it seems like J-Lo is more stressed out about everything regarding this relationship than participating in Diddy's extracurricular activities. Yes, she attended some of his parties, but that was only when they were dating, and she didn't know what was happening behind the scenes. I mean, when J-Lo was asked about Diddy in 2022 when she was on the Wendy Williams show, things got, well, awkward. Wendy asked if she and Diddy would ever get back together, and J-Lo laughed and shook her head as the camera panned to her mother sitting in the audience. Now, J-Lo's mother looked furious as she shouted no while waving her hand back and forth. Now, reposting the clip on Twitter, one fan wrote, "Some of y'all didn't catch J-Lo's mom's reaction when Wendy Williams said this." Yeah, I feel like this says a lot about their relationship. Clearly there was something going on and she didn't want to be associated with him anymore. And the fact that J-Lo's mom doesn't like Diddy, that speaks volumes. Recently, some shocking information was revealed from someone who attended Diddy's exclusive parties. On November 1st, former model Rachel Kennedy appeared on Daily Mail's The Trial of Diddy podcast to share her experience. Now, during her appearance, Rachel revealed that when she met Diddy in the year 2000, Diddy allegedly played J-Lo's music videos on a continuous loop in his hotel room while he was reportedly on the phone with the singer. It was kind of an odd thing to find out that we were watching JLo's video, she said, describing it as it's a little bit creepy and very disrespectful. Yeah, I'd have to agree with Rachel on that. Rachel, along with two friends, was invited to Diddy's hotel room for a party after meeting him at Seventh Heaven, a topless club in Japan. She shared that it quickly became clear that this was not the type of party they had expected. Rachel recounted that she and her friends initially found Diddy friendly and decided to stay, even after noticing some wild behavior around them. We went in, we didn't think anything strange, he was friendly enough, so we decided, okay, we'll just hang out with him, she said. Now things took a turn though, and it's now believed that this was actually one of Diddy's freak-offs. Rachel went on to say when she and her friends were with Diddy, suddenly one of his bodyguards barged into the room and he looked so violent and angry. He then ejected the women from the room, which came off as a shock to them. She said, "We just couldn't believe what was happening. First of all, how does he have that much access to Puff Daddy's room? That's the first thing I thought. How does he just come in like that?" Looking back at the strange experience, she alleged that the Bad Boy Records founder teaches them the behavior as he's their boss. She added, "He is the puppet master of all of this, and this is why people think it's okay, because he's teaching them that this kind of behavior is acceptable. He's like a cult leader and these people are his disciples," she said. Now this makes sense, as it's been released that Diddy had plenty of rules his employees had to follow when it came to finding him women. A former party planner who worked with Diddy during 2004 and 2005, who wished to remain anonymous, stated that women attending these parties were subjected to weight checks. "We would do a weigh-in if necessary. The girls had to be young and hot, so I always had a scale nearby in case I needed to make sure. The number was 140 pounds, but if a girl was really tall, there was a little bit of discretion involved," said the planner, adding that other requirements included no flab, no cellulite, no overly pierced or tattooed, and no short hair. Now the dress code reportedly demanded women wear short dresses, with high stilettos being a non-negotiable. No pants, no jeans, no flat shoes. Every girl had to wear a party dress, preferably very short, just enough to cover her butt cheeks but no longer than mid-thigh, cleavage showing. And every single one of them had to be wearing stilettos. That one, there was no exception, high stilettos. The New York Post quoted the planner as saying. Now it seems like we won't find out more from JLo regarding this whole situation unless she's called on to testify in court. But with everything that's been released about Diddy, JLo is the least of our problems. We all know that Jennifer Lopez used to date Diddy, but now her ex-husband is claiming that JLo attended Diddy's parties and actually knew what was going on. Ohani Noah, JLo's first husband, took to social media to distance himself from any connection to Diddy's freak-off parties, but claimed that JLo was one of multiple celebrities present at them. While we do know that JLo has been to Diddy parties, as there's photographic evidence, there has been nothing official put out about her involvement in freak-offs. Now in a post on Instagram, Noah shared a list of stars who have allegedly attended Diddy's parties, one being JLo. "I'm not on the list," he captioned the post. To those people and media outlets asking if I ever went or participated in that piece of Diddy's freak-off parties, no and no. Never. But my ex-wife, Jennifer Lopez, aka JLo, did. Ask her. Noah, who married JLo in February 1997, before the couple divorced less than a year later, blames their split on Diddy's working relationship with JLo. Now that relationship was created during the making of JLo's debut album On the 6, and it later became romantic, with Diddy and JLo dating between 1999 and 2001 before calling it quits. "She went from Jen to being JLo, this big business bringing in millions," Noah once told Daily Mail of the shift of their relationship. "She had all these new people around her, all wanting to make money off of her. I would call and an assistant would say, 'Sorry, she's not available.'" Now this isn't the first time her ex-husband has called her out. Despite the fact that they were only married for 9 months, Noah has been trying to slander his former flame to keep his name in the news by any means possible. In 2006, he set out to publish a tell-all book dubbed The Unknown Truth, a passionate portrait of a serial thriller, which Jennifer stopped with a lawsuit, claiming claiming that her ex was breaking their confidentiality agreement. She was then awarded $545,000 in damages, and Noah was slapped with a court order which forbade him from criticizing, casting in a negative light, or otherwise disparaging Jennifer. Then just 3 years later, he made headlines again when he threatened to release videos taped during the pair's honeymoon, showing the pop star in a revealing lack of clothing and in certain situations, especially in the hotel room. And this caused her to file a $10 million lawsuit against him. Meanwhile, during a 2016 appearance on Million Dollar Matchmaker, he dumped blame on his former wife, saying that she caused their split, and claimed, "I was looking forward to being with her for the rest of my life. It didn't happen. She made the choice of her career instead of me." Now, after Jennifer tied the knot with Ben Affleck in July 2022, Noah publicly spoke out about her marriage. "I wish her and Ben the best, but I'm not convinced it will last," he told the Daily Mail that month. "Jen loves being in love, but she's been engaged 6 times. Ben is husband number 4. I was husband number 1, and she told me I was the love of her life." Now, it seems like in the end that he was right. Other stars have also called out JLo for her ties to Diddy as well. Elon Musk was speaking on the Joe Rogan Experience when he began talking about JLo's criticism of the recently elected president and his remarks about Puerto Ricans. He said JLo was like his ex-girlfriend, and now all of a sudden she's warning people about Trump. How many people did she warn about Diddy? Oh, 0. Maybe we shouldn't trust her opinion, he said. He added, "People in the music industry had to know that Diddy was doing all those things. Where's the accountability? They had to know." Suge Knight also believes that JLo's and Ben's marriage fell apart because Homeland Security informed him that she was on the tapes that they found at Diddy's. "It's a white man who got respect in the white world," Knight said on his podcast Collect Calls. "I'm quite sure they said, we want to show you some things about your wife. I'm quite sure they headed for divorce because that's a man who had a good life. Great parents, don't spend a lot of money, ain't tripping off paparazzi, he's living his life. He got his own team, she done brought all that extra out, and now that mother effer he want out." Now, on the other hand though, Thea D'Souza, who worked with JLo on the 2002 film Made in Manhattan, posted a statement on Threads recently that defended the star and said that she had no involvement with any of this. "If you knew Jennifer Lopez, if you ever worked with her like I did, or if you're close with people who are like family to her like I am, you would know she did not have any idea about Diddy. She barely drinks, she's not a partier, she isn't a good time girl, she's a workaholic who uplifts women and who was charmed by him for a brief time in her life." Now, she emphasized that JLo does not deserve to be conflated with Diddy's shocking and criminal misdeeds. Now, JLo was recently spotted out in public interacting with fans when a paparazzi asked her, "JLo, do you have any comments about P. Diddy and the allegations?" Now, immediately JLo stopped taking photos and giving autographs and left. Many people begged her not to leave, but she didn't listen. She wanted nothing to do with answering that question or being associated with Diddy. Now, with Diddy's recent arrest, people have been speculating on his time with JLo. An anonymous source said he was very controlling, he would constantly put her in uncomfortable situations. This is a good girl from the Bronx who never got into trouble or was wild. The source also said he never hurt JLo, but she had her longtime manager, Benny Medina, to protect her. Benny would have ended Puffy's life if he laid a finger on JLo. But still, Puffy was controlling and demanding. Now, there's been a conflicting report though, as another source who knew the couple at the time said he definitely manhandled her, but it's a little low to bring all this up now. It's kicking a man when he's down. Then there was the nightclub situation. In 1999, Diddy was arrested following an incident that happened at a nightclub in New York. That night, Diddy was with his bodyguard Anthony Wolf, rapper Jamal Barrows, and Jennifer. As reported by Forbes, the incident started with a disagreement and ended with 3 different people becoming injured. After the incident, Diddy, JLo, and Jamal left the scene, but the 3 were involved in a police car chase. It was then reported that JLo threw evidence out of the car. According to the Washington Post, police found a stolen weapon in the car, and both Diddy and JLo were arrested and initially charged with criminal possession of stolen property. The charges against JLo were dropped overnight, but Diddy and Jamal went to trial. Diddy faced additional charges of bribery as he had allegedly offered the driver of the car $50,000 to say the weapon was his. Diddy was acquitted of all charges, and Jamal was charged with 5 offenses, but nobody was ever charged and found guilty of the actual incident. But recently, one of Diddy's accusers, Rodney Jones, who filed a lawsuit against the star, claimed that Diddy was responsible for the incident in the nightclub in New York, and alleged that Diddy bragged about using J-Lo to smuggle the weapon into the club. He shared that the artist and his girlfriend at the time, Jennifer Lopez, carried the weapon into the club for him, passed it to him after he got into an altercation with another individual, Jones is alleged in the lawsuit. All I can say about this is yikes. Now, Diddy has denied the accusations, but again, J-Lo has remained silent. Is there more to this story that J-Lo is letting on? And if she could lie about that, then has she really been involved with the crimes happening at Diddy's parties? There's so much speculation right now, but it seems like we won't get an answer about it unless J-Lo is called on to testify at Diddy's trial, which is currently set for May 5th, 2025.
New photos from the night of one of Diddy's major lawsuits shine a whole new light on his relationship with then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez. We'll get into all this and more in leaked Diddy party photo of Jennifer Lopez will change everything. Diddy, as you likely know by now, has been accused of some pretty heinous things by multiple people, including some past partners. Many lawsuits have been filed against the disgraced rapper. The lawsuit alleged that Diddy and an unnamed additional male celebrity harmed her inappropriately, while another, also unnamed, female celebrity watched. The plaintiff's story in the lawsuit was she attempted to sneak into Radio City Music Hall in 2000 for MTV's VMAs, but when she was unsuccessful, she ran into Diddy's driver. The driver told her to come back after the show, and when she did, he drove her to a large white house with a gated U-shaped driveway. The plaintiff further claims that upon entering the house, she was presented with a non-disclosure agreement and asked to sign. Once inside, she claims there was widespread use of substances, and when handed a beverage, they were in there too. In a bid to find somewhere safe to rest, the plaintiff claims that she entered an empty bedroom, and it wasn't long after she entered that the trio of celebrities allegedly followed. It was then that the multiple transgression happened, ultimately halting when the plaintiff struck Diddy in the neck. She was able to eventually escape the house and return home, but of course, the night left its mark. As reported by the Daily Mail, the lawsuit claims that the plaintiff fell into a deep depression which continues to affect every facet of her life. Diddy continues to assert his innocence. Back in October of this year, the Daily Mail obtained exclusive images of allegedly the very same after-party that this incident happened at, and the photos feature what appears to be a very angry J-Lo yelling at then-boyfriend and presently accused Sean Diddy Combs. The couple appears to be towards the wall of the room that is clearly still buzzing with party energy. Diddy appears to be dressed in what he wore to Radio City Music Hall that evening, a white shirt, baseball cap, and the new addition being what appears to be a bottle in his hand. In J-Lo's case, she had changed from her event outfit of the all-white ensemble with the bedazzled bandana to a colorful diamond and striped mini dress. As the party guests dance around the couple, the vibes could not be more different. Even directly beside J-Lo is who the Daily Mail has pointed out as her sister, Linda Lopez. She has a big smile on her face in some photos. It looks like she's continuing to dance the night away. In other photos, it's unclear if they became before or after the initial argument photo. J-Lo appears to be looking at Diddy in disdain or disappointment as he pours guests glasses from the bottle in his hand. In what the Daily Mail deems the next photo in the sequence, J-Lo is seen pushing away from the alleged confrontation and walking out of frame. As these are photos and not videos, there is no way of knowing exactly what was being said while the pictures were being taken unless one of the two stars steps forward. Though with the timing of the photos being obtained so close to the lawsuit being filed, it's made people look into the images a bit closer and wonder what the apparent argument could have been about. As of right now, J-Lo is not named in the lawsuit filed by the girl harmed at the allegedly same party. The lawsuit simply states Sean Diddy Combs and two unnamed celebrities were present. If it was this party, the house would be crawling with famous faces. This after-party event was co-hosted by Eminem and Dr. Dre. Some big-name guests that were included in the series of images the Daily Mail obtained from this night include music artist Jay-Z, magician David Blaine, model Carmen Cass, and rapper Ice-T, and more. To be clear, none of these people were named in the lawsuit either, they were simply present at the after-party. There have been instances in the past when Diddy has hosted star-studded bashes that turn into his bad parties after all the talent has left. The US Sun reported that Diddy's 2005 VMAs after-party went something like that. The event started as a party and was attended by big names like Eva Longoria and Paris Hilton, but the later half of the evening allegedly dissolved into one of Diddy's infamous freak-offs after the majority of the talent had left. The remaining party guests allegedly were moved from the nightclub to Diddy's mansion in the early early morning, and this is where his inappropriate party happened. Footage from the later half of the party allegedly shows Diddy wearing the same outfit he had been wearing in the VMA after party pics. It's unclear if the incident at the 2000 MTV VMAs after party was a situation like that, or an isolated incident that happened during the party. Diddy is known for having an unsavory and violent past that is completely unrelated to the many lawsuits filed against him lately. Just under a year before the year 2000 after party, in December of 1999, Diddy and J-Lo were arrested after an altercation in a Manhattan club. Reported at the time was that in the club, Diddy, J-Lo, Diddy's bodyguard, and another music artist named Shine got in a disagreement that resulted in a fight. Diddy and J-Lo were not harmed inside the bar and fled the scene taking a car. Forbes reported that the couple were being chased by police, and the New York Post reported that the car ran a red light before being pulled over by the police. It was during this stop that things started to go south for the famous couple. Inside the car, police found a stolen weapon, the discovery prompting the stars being taken into custody. Present at the station where the couple was taken was retired NYPD detective Derek Parker. After the event, he spoke to the New York Post, giving them an exclusive look into what it was like in the room that night. He said there were all these high-profile lawyers barricaded in the station house waiting to talk to the desk officer, and further went on to recall that J-Lo was first handcuffed to a pole inside the station and then later held for about 14 hours in detention. Of course, like I'm assuming anyone who just experienced a club uproar and arrest like she did, the retired detective said that J-Lo appeared distressed. J-Lo ended up getting released and cleared of all charges first after that 14 hours. She later shared in an interview that she was scared to death in the car at the time. Though J-Lo was cleared of any charges, Diddy wasn't, so a trial had to take place that lasted a few weeks. In addition to the incident at the club, prosecutors also alleged that Diddy and his bodyguard tried to bribe the driver of the getaway car $50,000 in exchange for him telling the police the weapon was his. One of the victims of the incident did testify as a witness at the trial. During her testimony, she claimed that she saw Diddy pulling out the weapon with his right hand, and then very soon after feeling immense pain in her face that later turned out to be caused by the There is a tie-in to this situation and the current Diddy situation. One of the recent lawsuits filed against Diddy came from producer Rodney Little Rod Jones Jr. He filed a civil lawsuit for non-consensual relations and harassment, and in a shocking turn of events, it also seems to possibly reference this 1999 incident as well. The suit claimed that on the day Homeland Security raided Diddy's home, he displayed his and bragged about getting away with using these weapons against people. It went further, saying that Diddy also confirmed to those present that he was responsible for the New York incident with the other rapper Shine. Not only that, but that J-Lo was the one who carried the firearm into the club for him and passed him the gun after he got into an altercation with another individual. Of course, you might notice that this would make J-Lo being in possession of the item and handing it to Diddy improbable if the original victim insisted she saw him pull it out. But it's not impossible, could have happened before the altercation began. In the end, Diddy was acquitted along with his bodyguard. Though it is over 2 decades after the incident, the victim, Natanya Rubin, is still fighting for justice. She joined Elizabeth Vargas Reports for an interview earlier in the year in which she shared that she still has 9 fragments of the projectile in her face. A follow-up interview revealed that Rubin was nervous even years later about sharing her story. She also said in the interview that she wouldn't mind if the case was reopened, even going so far as to say that as long as it didn't cause any health complications, she would be willing to have a doctor remove a part of the 9mm projectile in her face to be used as evidence in court. Another interesting moment in the J-Lo Diddy relationship history is a rumor from the early 2000s that was addressed in a recent interview on Jimmy Kimmel Live. The rumor was that while Diddy was dating J-Lo in the late 90s, early 2000s, Will Smith and his wife had propositioned the Jenny from the Block singer with an invitation to join them in bed. Allegedly, Diddy wasn't too happy with that and threatened to attack Smith. Never one to shy away from anything, Kimmel straight up asked Diddy if this was true. Insert clip here. At first, the music artist made absolutely no movements, just kept his face in a very serious mask. Eventually, he did respond with, "You really heard that?" and laughed the whole thing off, claiming he didn't know what Kimmel was talking about. The talk show host played into the bit, making a remark about how one can't believe everything they hear on the internet. Jennifer Lopez and Diddy were arrested together, but not for the reason you think. With all the recent controversy Diddy has caused, any name ever attached to him is being scrutinized under a microscope, or their past is being dragged back up and and picked apart. And that is exactly what is happening with J-Lo. This hasn't been an easy year for the performer. Long-held speculation that she was getting a divorce from husband Ben Affleck turned out to be true, and now people are once again bringing up her arrest alongside former partner Diddy that happened in the 90s. This unlikely couple might not have dated very long, but they certainly kept celebrity gossip publications busy. But no incident with the two was quite as famous as their night out clubbing right around Christmas of 1999. While partying the night away in Club New York in Manhattan on December 27th, 1999, things quickly took a violent turn. Reported at the time was that in the club, Diddy, J-Lo, Diddy's bodyguard, and another music artist named Shine got in a disagreement that resulted in a fight, eventually escalating to people getting out weapons and firing them, injuring 3. Diddy and J-Lo were not harmed inside the bar and fled the scene taking a car. Forbes reports that the couple were being chased by police, and the New York Post reported that the car ran a red light before being pulled over by the police. It was during this stop that things started going south for the famous couple. Inside the car, police found a stolen weapon, the discovery prompting the stars being taken into custody. Obviously, arresting 2 of the biggest names in music at the time was going to cause a stir, and sure enough, all anyone could talk about was this. Present at the station where the couple was taken was retired NYPD detective Derek Parker. After the event, he spoke to the New York Post, giving them an exclusive look into what it was like in the room that night. He said there were all these high-profile lawyers barricaded in the station house waiting to talk to the desk officer, and further went on to recall that J-Lo was first handcuffed to a pole inside the station and then later held for about 14 hours in detention. Of course, like I'm assuming anyone who just experienced a club uproar and arrest like she did, the retired detective said J-Lo appeared distressed. Thankfully for her, she was released after the 14 hours and cleared of all charges. The Jenny from the Block singer didn't often personally speak on the ordeal. However, she did make one comment about the situation in an interview with Elle, saying it was a complete nightmare from beginning to end, and that she was scared to death in the car and had absolutely no idea what was going on. No one did. Though J-Lo was of course present at the scene, how involved she was is still up in the air. Earlier this year, new details came to light when Rodney Lil Rod Jones Jr. filed a civil lawsuit for non-consensual relations and harassment, but it also seemed to potentially reference this 1999 incident as well. It claimed that on the day Homeland Security raided Diddy's home, he displayed his guns and bragged about getting away with using these weapons against people. It went further, saying that Diddy also confirmed to those present that he was responsible for the New York incident with the other rapper Shine. Not only that, but that J-Lo was the one who carried the firearm into the club for him and passed him the gun after he got into an altercation with another individual. One of the victims of the incident, Natanya Rubin, has been outspoken from the start about the events that took place that night. Since the beginning, she has been very clear with her recount of the evening and adamant that Diddy is responsible for the projectile that hit her face. Though J-Lo was cleared of any charges, Diddy wasn't at first, so a trial had to take place that lasted a few weeks. In addition to the incident at the club, prosecutors also alleged that Diddy and his bodyguard tried to bribe the driver of the getaway car $50,000 in exchange for him telling the police the weapon was his. Rubin did testify as one of the witnesses at the trial. During her testimony, she claimed that she saw Diddy pulling out the weapon with his right hand and then very soon after feeling immense pain in her face that later turned out to be caused by the firearm. Of course, you might notice that this would make J-Lo being in possession of the item and handing it to Diddy improbable, but if Rubin insisted she saw him pull it out, but it's not impossible as it could have happened before the altercation began. In the end, Diddy was acquitted along with his bodyguard. The individual that did not get cleared of all charges was Shine. The young rapper was convicted of in harming 2 bystanders and sentenced to 10 years in prison. In the end, he only served about 9. Since his release, Shine has taken a very different career approach. In 2009, the man was deported to his home country where his father was actually prime minister. Leaving his rap career behind, he decided to follow in his father's footsteps and got into politics as well. Successfully, I might add. He was voted into the country's House of Representatives in 2020. Though it is over 2 decades after the incident, Natanya Rubin is still fighting for justice. She joined Elizabeth Elizabeth Vargas reports for an interview earlier in the year in which she shared that she still has 9 fragments of the projectile in her face. She shared further details about the rough night, that at the time and throughout the trial, one of the most important things to her was simply getting back home to her family. A follow-up interview revealed that Rubin was nervous even years later about sharing her story, even going so far as to ask for a deep investigation to be conducted in the event that she does go missing. This was happening right around when everything first hit the fan with all that Diddy stuff, so her fear is not unexpected. She also said in the interview that she wouldn't mind if the case was reopened, even going so far as to say that as long as it didn't cause any health complications, she would be willing to have a doctor remove a part of the 9mm projectile in her face to be used as evidence in court. After learning about what Rodney Little Rod Jones Jr. had seen that night, that J-Lo was the one that brought the item in, Rubin seemed more and more on board with reopening the case. She said, "I couldn't bring in a comb. I would absolutely, unequivocally like the case reopened. It needs to be reopened." Diddy has already had a rough year with the legal system after his alleged misdeeds have come to light. New allegations against the music star continue to pop up, and some are quite bizarre, like how he had 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Combs' lawyer insists he doesn't know where exactly that large number came from, and explained the amount away by saying the man simply buys in bulk, referencing the chain store Costco, claiming that people walk out of there with items bought in large quantities all the time. But Costco was not about to let themselves get roped into this situation and actually came out with a statement that they don't sell baby oil in any US location. It's not yet clear if the December 1999 incident will be re-examined in court as some of the victims wish. The only trial confirmed for the music artist now is the one on May 5th of next year. A gag order has been suggested for it. It would prevent attorneys or prosecutors from discussing anything further about the trial with the media.
Elon Musk has now inserted himself into the Diddy drama by calling out Jennifer Lopez for not warning us about Diddy and all the horrible things he's done. Elon, though, is one to talk. Now, Musk was speaking on the Joe Rogan Experience when he began talking about J-Lo's criticism of the recently elected president and his remarks about Puerto Ricans. Elon then brought up J-Lo's personal history with Diddy as she dated him from 1999 to 2001. He said J-Lo was like his ex-girlfriend, and now all of a sudden she's warning people about Trump. How many people did she warn about Diddy? Oh, 0. Maybe we shouldn't trust her opinion. He then added people in the music entertainment industry had to know that Diddy was doing those things. Where's the accountability? They had to know. Again, this is somewhat hilarious coming from Elon considering all the horrible things he's done, but he's not the only celeb who's questioned J-Lo's involvement with the Diddy case. Ojani Noah, her ex-husband, claimed that she was involved in Diddy's freak-offs that came in his federal indictment. "I'm not on the list," he wrote on Instagram. To those people and media outlets asking if I ever went or participated in that piece of Diddy's freak-off parties, no and no. But my ex-wife, Jennifer Lopez, aka J-Lo, did. Ask her. Then Suge Knight believes that J-Lo and Ben Affleck's marriage fell apart because Homeland Security informed him that she was on the tapes that they found. "It's a white man who got respect in the white world," Knight said on his podcast Collect Calls. "I'm quite sure they said, we want to show you some things about your wife, and I'm quite sure they headed for divorce because that's a man who had a good life. Great parents don't spend a lot of money. Ain't tripping off paparazzi, he's living his life. He got his own team. She done brought all that extra out, and now that mother effer he want out." Now, J-Lo hasn't addressed the Diddy situation and will probably remain quiet on it. She was seen out recently and was interacting with fans when a paparazzi said, "J-Lo, do you have any comments about P. Diddy and the allegations?" Now, immediately Jennifer stopped taking photos and giving autographs and sped off with her team away from fans.
Do you have any comments about P. Diddy and the allegations?
Well, back up, look, don't lean. Jennifer, your sign, don't lean. Ignite your sign.
Now others called after her, telling the superstar don't leave, but despite the pleas, she headed away through a door, away from everyone. Now it's important to note that J-Lo has not been formally linked or accused to Diddy and his crimes. Just last week, one of J-Lo's past assistants has come forward and addressed her involvement. Thea D'Souza, who worked with J-Lo on the 2002 film Made in Manhattan, posted a statement on Threads recently that said, "If you knew Jennifer Lopez, if you ever worked with her like I did, or if you were close with people who are like family to her like I am, you would know she did not have any idea about Diddy. She barely drinks, Yikes, she's not a partier, she isn't a good time girl, she is a workaholic who uplifts women and who was charmed by him for a brief time in her life. She then emphasized that J-Lo does not deserve to be conflated with Diddy's shocking and criminal misdeeds. Now, it does make sense though that people would question Jen's involvement, as she has been arrested with Diddy in the past. Yep, you heard that right. In 1999, Diddy was arrested following an incident that happened at a nightclub in New York. That night, Diddy was with his bodyguard, Anthony Wolf, rapper Jamal Shane Barrows, and Jennifer Lopez, who he was dating at the time. As reported by Forbes, the incident started with a disagreement and ended with 3 different people becoming injured. After the incident, Diddy, J-Lo, and Jamal left the scene, but then the 3 were involved in a police car chase. Now, it's even been rumored that J-Lo threw evidence out of the car during this case. According to the Washington Post, police found a stolen weapon in the car, and both Diddy and J-Lo were arrested and initially charged with criminal possession of stolen property. Now, the charges against J-Lo were dropped overnight, but Diddy and Jamal went to trial. Jennifer spent 14 hours in a police station as the result of her incident. Now, she later described it as an unfortunate situation, adding, "We were somewhere we shouldn't have been. It was a bad situation, and any bad situation that involves celebrities, people run with." Diddy faced additional charges of bribery, as he had allegedly offered the driver of the car $50,000 to say the weapon was his. Diddy was acquitted of the charges, and Jamal was charged with 5 offenses. Now, he served 10 years for his charges, according to the New York Times. But nobody was ever charged and found guilty of the actual incident. One woman who was a victim of the incident claims that Diddy injured her, which Diddy has denied. Natania Rubin filed a $130 million lawsuit for compensation against Diddy in 2008, which was then settled out of court in June 2011. Now, J-Lo has rarely spoken about the incident, but in the year 2000, she did address it in an interview with British Elle. She said, "It was a complete nightmare. I had absolutely no idea what was going on. No one did." Now, J-Lo was in a little bit more trouble when they were arrested, because up until that point she said she was born in 1970, but she was actually born in 1969. Now, it's just very strange to me because her age only changed 1 year. It seems like such an insignificant detail to me, and I don't know why she would change it, and it seems like no one really knows why, but multiple theories think it might have had to do with her schooling. Others say she did it to appear younger in Hollywood, but again, it's only 1 year. If she said she was 5 years younger than she really was, I'd believe that theory, but only 1 year doesn't really make any sense. But recently now, one of Diddy's accusers, Rodney Jones, who filed a lawsuit against the star, claimed that Diddy was responsible for the incident in the nightclub in New York and alleged that Diddy bragged about using J-Lo to smuggle the weapon into the club. He shared that artist and Diddy's girlfriend at the time, J-Lo, carried the weapon into the club for him and passed it to him after he got into an altercation with another individual, he alleged in the lawsuit. Now, all I can say is yikes. Diddy has denied the accusations, but again, J-Lo has remained silent. Is there more to the story than J-Lo is letting on? Regardless, I think she needs to clear her name, whether she puts out a statement herself or through a representative, because all of this is not a good look at all. Now, Diddy was arrested in September for running a crime ring for over a decade. While in jail, he's been faced with multiple lawsuits, and he's getting more and more every day, it appears. In October, Tony Busby, a Texas-based attorney, announced he was representing more than 120 men and women against Diddy. The criminal complaint states that Diddy held freak-offs where he distributed a variety of controlled substances to victims, in part to keep the victims obedient and compliant. Now, Diddy's attorneys have repeatedly denied the allegations. Mr. Combs and his legal team have full confidence in the facts, their legal defenses, and the integrity of the judicial process, his attorney said in a statement to CNN. In court, the truth will prevail. When you have a consistent line of victims alleging the same or similar claims, it just gives a lot more credibility to the allegations, said Trey Lovell, a Los Angeles-based entertainment attorney. Now, Nancy Erica Smith, an attorney in New Jersey, said, "The evidence, I think, is overwhelming," adding that the lawsuits are helping to change the culture. "I think that women are going to be less likely to tolerate it and fearful to speak out, and other women are going to come forward." Yeah, it just does not look good for Diddy, and with this though, it has people questioning whether those close to him knew about the crimes or even participated in them. That's why J-Lo's name has been dragged through the mud. It appears that we'll only learn more during Diddy's trial, which is set for May 5th, 2025.